They trusted the brand trusted profit, and profit buried the bodies. On February 8th, 2025, at 4:23 a.m., FBI agents surrounded the mansion of Michael Brennan, CEO of Nutricorp Global, a food conglomerate supplying products to Walmart, Target, and Kroger, with annual revenue of $4.7 billion. Inside his panic room, 340 shipping manifests from Guangdong province. Laboratory reports showing plastic polymers in rice, heavy metal contamination in baby vitamins, and a WhatsApp conversation with a Chinese manufacturer that made agents physically ill. The children won't know. Old people won't complain. Ship 40 more containers. But that wasn't the most damning evidence. In his encrypted laptop, agents found medical records he had been monitoring: 8,470 elderly patients with kidney failure, 3,200 children with developmental delays, all linked to products his company distributed. This wasn't food manufacturing. This was slow-motion genocide for quarterly profits. The investigation began with a grandmother who wouldn't stop asking questions. On October 14, 2025, Margaret Sullivan, 78 years old, retired school teacher, took her 4-year-old grandson Timothy to the emergency room in Columbus, Ohio. He had been vomiting blood for 6 hours. Doctors found acute kidney damage, but Timothy had no history of kidney disease, no genetic markers, no exposure to toxins. What he had was a daily routine. His grandmother gave him NutriKids Complete Multivitamin Gummies every morning, recommended by pediatricians, sold at Target, trusted by millions. Margaret brought the bottle to the hospital. Dr. Rachel Kim, a pediatric toxicologist, decided to run an unauthorized test. What she found made her call the FBI immediately. The vitamins contained lead, 847 parts per million, safe limit 0.5 ppm. Cadmium, 340 ppm. No safe level for children. 0 actual vitamins. But here's what made FBI Special Agent David Martinez's instincts scream. This wasn't one contaminated batch. Margaret had bought bottles from 3 different stores over 4 months. All had the same toxicity levels. This was systematic poisoning, not manufacturing error. Agent Martinez pulled sales data. NutriKids Complete Multivitamins. 8.7 million bottles sold in 18 months. Each bottle contained 90 gummies. That's 783 million individual doses. He cross-referenced pediatric hospital admissions. 3,200 children, ages 2 to 8, had been admitted with unexplained kidney damage in the past year. 89% of their parents reported using NutriKids vitamins. But the horror multiplied when Martinez discovered the senior citizen angle. A nursing home in Phoenix reported 47 residents with sudden onset kidney failure over 6 months. The common factor, Golden Year's joint support supplements, manufactured by the same company, Nutricorp Global. Laboratory analysis revealed the supplements contained industrial-grade calcium carbonate mixed with plastic microparticles. No actual glucosamine. No actual chondroitin. Just ground-up construction materials compressed into pills. 8,470 elderly Americans had been prescribed kidney-destroying pills marketed as health supplements. This wasn't negligence. This was calculated poisoning of the most vulnerable. And when the FDA traced the supply chain, they found something that made Agent Martinez's blood run cold. Every contaminated product, vitamins, supplements, organic rice, plant-based meat, came from the same network of Chinese manufacturers. All shipped through the same warehouses, all certified by the same FDA official, Robert Lansing, the director they had arrested 6 weeks earlier. But Michael Brennan wasn't just buying from these manufacturers, he owned them. At 11:47 a.m. on November 3rd, FBI forensic accountant Jennifer Wu opened Nutricorp Global's corporate structure. What she found made her call Agent Martinez immediately. Nutricorp wasn't just an American food company, it was a shell game. The corporate ownership chain, Nutricorp Global, Delaware, USA, owned by Nutricorp Holdings, Cayman Islands, owned by Phoenix Investment Group, British Virgin Islands, owned by 6 Chinese manufacturing facilities in Guangdong province. Michael Brennan controlled the entire supply chain. He wasn't buying contaminated products. He was ordering them to be made that way. But the scheme was even more sinister than financial fraud. The system. Step 1. Chinese factories produce fake food using industrial chemicals and plastic polymers. Step 2. Products are shipped to Nutricorp warehouses in Los Angeles, Houston, and Newark. Step 3. Products are relabeled with trusted American brand names: NutriKids, Golden Years, Pure Organic Rice, Plant Pro Meat. Step 4. Fake FDA certificates, purchased from Robert Lansing for $86,000 each, are attached. Step 5. Products are distributed to major retailers nationwide. Step 6. Brennan's profit margin, 340%. Manufacturing cost $0.40 per unit. Retail price $1.76 per unit. Each product line generated millions in profit. Each product line destroyed thousands of lives. Over 18 months, 8.7 million bottles of toxic vitamins sold, 4.3 million packages of plastic rice, 2.1 million pounds of synthetic meat, $1.2 billion in revenue, 11,670 confirmed cases of organ damage. But the drug trafficking connection came from a seized ledger. On November 18th, DEA agents raiding a cartel warehouse in Tijuana found shipping containers labeled Nutricorp, organic superfood powder. Inside, 840 kilograms of fentanyl mixed with protein powder. The formula was brilliant and horrifying. 95% fake protein powder, 5% fentanyl, visually identical to legitimate products, shipped through legitimate channels, cleared with legitimate, fraudulent FDA certificates. And when users experienced energizing effects from the fentanyl, they assumed the product was working and bought more. 47 deaths in 6 months, all ruled accidental overdose. None connected to Nutricorp until the warehouse raid. On December 2nd, FDA investigators conducted a surprise inspection of Nutricorp's main warehouse in Commerce, California. The warehouse manager, Daniel Kim, 11 years with the company, tried to refuse entry. Agents entered anyway. What they found made seasoned investigators physically ill. Relabeling Station 1, organic basmati rice, actually plastic pellets mixed with rice starch. Relabeling Station 2, Plant Pro burger patties, actually soy protein mixed with industrial dyes and plastic binders. Relabeling Station 3, Golden Years multivitamin, actually ground limestone with toxic heavy metals. Workers were literally printing fake USDA organic labels and applying them to Chinese manufactured poisons. At 3:47 p.m. on January 12th, undercover FDA agent Sarah Chen, posing as a retail buyer, met Brennan at his corporate office in San Francisco. She said her company wanted to source cost-effective health supplements for a new store chain. Brennan didn't hesitate. He pulled up a presentation on his monitor. Our manufacturing facilities in Guangdong can produce any supplement formulation at 80% cost savings compared to FDA-compliant facilities. Certification documentation is included. Quality testing is flexible. Agent Chen asked what flexible meant. Brennan smiled. It means we provide the test results you need, not necessarily the test results the products have. The meeting lasted 23 minutes. Brennan offered a 15% commission on the first order. He ordered sushi and expensed it to the company. At 9:14 p.m. on January 28th, surveillance teams captured Michael Brennan meeting 3 men in the VIP room of a steakhouse in Beverly Hills. 2 were Chinese nationals. One was a cartel logistics coordinator the DEA had been tracking for 8 months. The conversation, recorded via directional microphone, included this exchange. Chinese manufacturer. The new rice formula is ready. Completely plastic-based. Shelf life, unlimited. Cost, $0.03 per pound. Brennan, perfect. I can sell it for $4.99 per pound as organic. That's 166 to 1 margin. Cartel coordinator. And the special shipments? Brennan, 40 containers next month. Same mixture. Nobody checks vitamin powder for narcotics. At 11:47 p.m., Brennan returned to his car and made a phone call. Wiretaps captured 5 words. Expand production. Double the shipments. And at 2:34 a.m. on February 8th, the operational order was signed. 217 federal agents, 23 locations across 4 countries. One mission, dismantle the poisoned empire. Jennifer Wu's corporate unraveling sparked a multi-agency storm. The task force ballooned. FBI, FDA, DEA, CBP, Interpol. They traced ownership, layered shells concealing Brennan's control over Guangdong factories. Factories inspected remotely. Footage showed workers adding melamine to formula, plastic fillers to rice, heavy metals to vitamins for cost cuts. The fentanyl mixing, cartel chemists in Tijuana blending with powder, shipped back as supplements. Warehouse inspection, relabeling assembly lines, workers unaware or complicit. Brennan's meeting with Chen, wired audio confirmed intent. Flexible testing meant faked results. Surveillance at steakhouse, directional mic captured expansion plans, special shipments hybridizing food with drugs. Brennan's call, ordering double production, confirming scale. The order mobilized 217 agents for synchronized hits on offices, homes, warehouses, factories. Ports alerted for 40 containers. Intercepted, 18 tons contaminated. Goods seized, 380 kilograms narcotics. The empire's depth, 1.2 billion revenue, 11,000 illnesses, 47 deaths. The revelation, profit over people, poison in pantries. February the 8th, dawn raid imminent. February 8th, 2024, 4:23 a.m. The San Francisco fog was still thick when the first SWAT vehicle stopped outside Michael Brennan's $28 million estate in Pacific Heights.
Allergies are relentless. A stroll in the park? Unbearable. A playdate with your dogs? Ruined. When allergies throw a sucker punch, Claritin D doesn't just fight back, it punches back harder. Get fast, powerful relief of your worst symptoms, like nasal congestion, so you can get back to owning your day. Claritin clears.
No sirens, no lights. Just the quiet hum of tactical communications and the metallic snap of flashbang grenades being prepped. Agent Martinez pressed his earpiece. All units execute. At 4:26 a.m., the front gate, reinforced steel biometric locks, was breached with a hydraulic spreader. Agents flooded the property. Guard dogs were neutralized with tranquilizers. Security cameras were disabled with EMP devices. At 4:29 a.m., the tactical team reached the panic room. Brennan had locked himself inside, a reinforced concrete bunker with 72-hour air supply and satellite communications. But he made one mistake. He brought his laptop. At 4:44 a.m., FBI cyber specialist Maya Chen intercepted his satellite uplink. He was attempting to wire transfer $340 million from offshore accounts to cryptocurrency exchanges. She blocked the transaction and sent him a message on his screen. Federal agents are outside. Surrender or face breaching charges. At 4:51 a.m., the panic room door opened. Brennan stepped out in silk pajamas, hands raised. His first words, "I want my attorney." "I'm not saying anything." His second words, muttered under his breath but captured on body cameras. "They're just vitamins. Nobody can prove intent." But his laptop proved everything. At 4:56 a.m. Eastern, 1:56 a.m. Pacific, FDA agents stormed the Nutricorp warehouse in Commerce, California. Night shift workers were in the middle of a relabeling operation. Agents found 470,000 bottles of fake vitamins waiting for NutriKids labels. 280,000 packages of plastic rice being stamped USDA organic. 190,000 pounds of synthetic meat being packaged as Plant Pro grass-fed beef. And in the loading dock, 23 containers scheduled for pickup at 6 a.m. Each contained products worth $4.7 million retail. Each was poison. At 5:02 a.m., DEA agents hit a food distribution center in Houston. The manager, Luis Vargas, same man from the FDA video, apparently he found new employment after previous arrest, was overseeing a shipment of protein powder. When agents opened the containers, they found 95% fake powder, 5% fentanyl, exactly as the intercepted conversation had described. 340 kilograms of fentanyl, enough to kill 170 million people. At 5:14 a.m., ICE teams raided Nutricorp's corporate headquarters in San Francisco. Employees arriving for early shifts were detained, servers were seized, filing cabinets were emptied. In the executive conference room, agents found a whiteboard with quarterly projections. Q1 2025, revenue target, 380 million, cost reduction, target 15%, switch to full plastic rice, new market, nursing homes, captive customers, low complaints. They had been planning to expand. At 5:47 a.m. Pacific, 2:47 p.m., China Standard Time, Interpol agents raided 6 manufacturing facilities in Guangdong province. The operations were identical at each location. Industrial chemical vats producing fake vitamins, plastic pellet machines creating fake rice, soy protein mixers blending synthetic meat with dyes, binders, and plastic microparticles. At one facility, agents found something that made Agent Martinez's hands shake when he saw the photos. A quality control checklist. The checklist didn't test for nutritional content or safety. It tested for visual similarity to real product, weight consistency, taste masking effectiveness, shelf stability. There was no category for safe for human consumption. At 6:23 a.m., Coast Guard units intercepted a cargo ship 40 miles off the California coast. The vessel, MV Pacific Fortune, registered in Liberia, was carrying 47 containers destined for Nutricorp warehouses. Inside container 14, 840,000 bottles of fake children's vitamins. Lead content, 1,200 parts per million, 75.6 million toxic doses. At 7:11 a.m., Agent Martinez entered Brennan's home office. Behind a bookshelf disguised as a single unit, he found a hidden room. Inside, medical journals with sections highlighted, articles about kidney failure in children, studies on heavy metal toxicity in elderly patients, research papers on microplastic accumulation in human tissue. Brennan hadn't been ignorant of the health effects. He had been studying them. On his desk, a handwritten note dated December 2025. Acceptable loss rate, 0.15% serious adverse events. Current rate, 0.14%. Within parameters. Continue production. He had calculated how many people he could poison before it became a business problem. As dawn broke over San Francisco, the arrests multiplied like dominoes. At 7:34 a.m., FBI agents raided the home of Nutricorp's chief operating officer, Patricia Reynolds, 22 years in food manufacturing. In her home safe, $8.4 million in cash and a USB drive containing emails with Chinese manufacturers negotiating cost optimization strategies. Translation: ways to use cheaper, more toxic materials. At 8:02 a.m., FDA inspectors arrested the head of Nutricorp's Quality Assurance Department, Dr. James Chen, PhD in food science from Cornell. His job was to ensure product safety. Instead, he had been writing fake lab reports showing products passed safety standards. His payment, $50,000 per report. Over 18 months, 847 fake reports, $42.35 million. The same amount Robert Lansing had earned. They were in business together. At 8:47 a.m., ICE agents arrested a logistics coordinator in Newark who had been managing the shipping routes. Her computer showed something chilling: a database of complaint-free zones. These were geographic areas where customer complaints about product quality were statistically lowest: rural areas, low-income neighborhoods, communities with elderly populations, or immigrant families less likely to report issues. Nutricorp had been deliberately targeting vulnerable populations. At 9:23 a.m., DEA teams raided a laboratory in Miami that had been providing fake toxicology reports. The lab director, Dr. Raymond Pierce, same man from the VA video, apparently also found new employment, had been certifying products as safe for children without testing them. By 10 a.m., 217 people were in custody across 11 countries. But the evidence kept expanding like poison spreading through blood. Seized documents revealed a network that had infiltrated every major retailer. Walmart, 89 contaminated products sold. Target, 73. Kroger, 64. Amazon, 127. Whole Foods, 38. The irony was devastating. But Michael Brennan wasn't just selling poison, he had industrialized the contamination of America's food supply. Financial forensics revealed the scale: $4.7 billion in annual revenue, $3.2 billion in actual profit, 68% margin through toxic shortcuts, 847 products distributed nationwide, 11,670 confirmed cases of organ damage, 3,200 children with developmental delays, 8,470 elderly patients with kidney failure, 127 deaths officially linked, estimated 400 plus unreported. And in Brennan's encrypted cloud storage, accessed at 11:34 a.m., agents found something that made Agent Martinez physically ill: a spreadsheet titled acceptable casualties by demographic. It calculated by age group and income level how many deaths could occur before triggering federal investigation. For children under 5, estimated tolerance, 200 deaths over 18 months before pattern recognition. For adults over 75, estimated tolerance, 2,000 deaths over 18 months, attributed to natural causes. He had weaponized actuarial science. At 12:47 p.m., the FDA commissioner held an emergency press conference. Her voice was steady, but tears streamed down her face. For 18 months, millions of American families fed their children products they believed were healthy. Parents gave their babies vitamins containing lead. Elderly patients took supplements that destroyed their kidneys. All while Michael Brennan calculated acceptable death rates like a spreadsheet line item. This is not corporate negligence. This is premeditated mass poisoning. And every single victim will be heard. But for grandmothers like Margaret Sullivan, sitting in a hospital room where her grandson Timothy was on dialysis, waiting for a kidney transplant he shouldn't need, those words couldn't bring back what was lost. Because the truth was inescapable. The brands they trusted had been bought and weaponized. 11 weeks after the raids, the FDA announced the largest product recall in American history. 847 products from 23 brands, totaling 47 million units. Estimated products still in homes, 31 million. On March 15, 2025, Michael Brennan appeared in federal court for arraignment. The charges took 17 minutes to read. 847 counts of distributing adulterated food products, 127 counts of negligent homicide, 11,670 counts of assault with intent to cause bodily harm, 340 counts of wire fraud, 89 counts of conspiracy with foreign criminal organizations, 23 counts of racketeering. If convicted on all counts, 8 consecutive life sentences plus 4,700 years. His attorney argued that Brennan was merely responding to market pressure for affordable nutrition, and that the health effects were coincidental. The prosecutor's response was devastating. Your Honor, Mr. Brennan's own notes show he calculated how many children he could poison before triggering investigation. He targeted elderly patients because he believed they would die before complaining. He sold plastic mixed with rice starch as food. He called human deaths acceptable casualties and quarterly earnings successful optimization. This is not a businessman. This is a serial killer who incorporated. Bail denied. Asset seizure. $3.2 billion. But here's what haunts Dr. Rachel Kim late at night. Timothy Sullivan will need a kidney transplant, but so will 3,200 other children. There aren't enough pediatric kidney donors in America. Most of those children will spend their entire childhoods on dialysis because Michael Brennan saved $0.37 per bottle on manufacturing costs. And the elderly patients? 8,470 people with kidney failure. Medicare doesn't cover all dialysis costs. Many will die waiting for treatment they can't afford. The victims of this poisoning will suffer for the rest of their lives. And Brennan will die in prison knowing his profit margins were excellent. So here's my question for you. If you're still watching, if this makes you angry, comment below. We do not look away. Because stories like this get buried. Major corporations pull advertising from news outlets that investigate them. The algorithm suppresses content that makes people distrust brands. And families suffer in silence because they don't know their child's illness has a name: corporate-sanctioned poisoning. Tap the like button so this reaches someone who needs to see it. A parent whose child has unexplained kidney problems. A caregiver whose elderly patient suddenly declined. Someone who bought organic rice or plant-based meat or children's vitamins in the past 2 years. And subscribe, because this network is bigger than one CEO. Remember Robert Lansing from the FDA video? The director who sold fake certifications? He certified 847 of Brennan's products. Every single contaminated item had Lansing's signature. They were business partners. Remember Gregory Hartman, the VA director? 3 of his Dubai shell companies were used to launder Brennan's profits. The $3.2 billion didn't stay in America. It was washed through the same network that trafficked veterans. Remember Marcus Chen, the port director? 73 of the contaminated shipments came through Chen's ports. The same containers that should have been inspected but were waved through with fraudulent paperwork from both ends. Remember Dr. Richard Castellano, the medical director running the prescription drug ring? Brennan had been in talks to expand into counterfeit pharmaceuticals using Castellano's distribution network before both were arrested. And remember Judge Amina Osman? When families tried to sue Nutricorp over their children's illnesses, 8 cases were dismissed by her court for insufficient evidence. She protected Brennan the same way she protected everyone else. The corruption wasn't isolated. It was a machine designed to extract profit from human suffering. There are other CEOs, other manufacturers, other brands you trust, other products in your pantry right now that might be killing your family slowly enough that you don't notice until it's too late. The war for food safety isn't one with labels. It's one with independent testing. Shield or silence? Which side do you stand on? Because somewhere tonight, a parent is giving their child a vitamin that contains lead. An elderly patient is taking a supplement that's destroying their kidneys. A baby is eating rice made from plastic. And a CEO is calculating whether the lawsuits will cost more than the profits. And the only thing that stops them is you refusing to look away. So check your pantry. Question every label. Demand independent laboratory verification. Don't trust brands, trust science. Because your family's health shouldn't depend on whether a CEO values life more than quarterly earnings. They trusted the brand trusted profit, and profit buried the bodies. Remember Timothy Sullivan, remember Margaret Sullivan. Remember that trust is a weapon when corporations learn to wield it. Don't look away, we have a new campaign. I'll start now. On March 4th, 2026 at 3:52 a.m., DEA agents surrounded St. Catherine's Medical Center in Philadelphia, a 600-bed hospital serving 340,000 patients annually, with a reputation for excellence that spanned 4 decades. The target, Dr. Elizabeth Harmon, Chief Executive Officer and Medical Director. Inside her private office, $18 million in cash hidden behind false walls. Shipping manifests for 2,400 kilograms of cartel methamphetamine. And patient medical records with handwritten notes. Stage 4 cancer, high dose tolerance, premium client. But that wasn't the most horrifying discovery. In her encrypted computer, agents found purchase orders showing the hospital had been buying street fentanyl from Mexican cartels, diluting it with saline solution, and injecting it into cancer patients as prescription pain medication. This wasn't healthcare. This was a drug empire wearing scrubs. The investigation began with a widow who refused to accept her husband's death. On November 7th, 2025, Thomas Chen, 52 years old, colon cancer patient, died in his hospital room at St. Catherine's Medical Center. Official cause of death? Cardiac arrest due to cancer complications. But his wife, Dr. Linda Chen, a pharmacologist at Johns Hopkins, knew something was wrong. Thomas had been stable. His latest scans showed the tumor was shrinking. He had months, maybe years. What he had received the night before his death was a pain management injection administered by the night nurse. Within 20 minutes, he was dead. Dr. Chen demanded an autopsy. The hospital fought it. The insurance company fought it. Even Thomas's oncologist said it was unnecessary trauma. She hired a private medical examiner. What they found made her call the FBI immediately. Thomas's blood contained fentanyl, 47 nanograms per milliliter, lethal dose 3 nanograms per milliliter, methamphetamine, 840 nanograms per milliliter, cocaine metabolites, 340 nanograms per milliliter, 0 prescription painkillers. Her husband hadn't died from cancer. He'd been murdered with street drugs disguised as medicine. But here's what made DEA Special Agent Nicole Brooks's instincts scream: Thomas wasn't the only one. Dr. Chen pulled death records from St. Catherine's over the past 18 months. 847 patients had died with cardiac arrest or respiratory failure as primary cause. All were cancer patients. All had been receiving aggressive pain management. The mortality rate was 340% higher than the national average for similar hospitals. This wasn't a medical tragedy. This was systematic murder. Agent Brooks obtained warrants for patient medication records. What she discovered made her blood run cold. The hospital pharmacy had been ordering prescription opioids at normal rates, about 40,000 doses per month. But patient charts showed they were administering 340,000 doses per month. Where were the extra 300,000 doses coming from? And where were the prescription opioids going? On November 23rd, a DEA raid on a cartel distribution center in Camden, New Jersey, answered both questions. Agents seized 47,000 bottles of prescription oxycodone, all with authentic-looking pharmaceutical labels. But laboratory analysis revealed the pills were 98% filler, 2% actual opioid. Nearly worthless on the street. The bottles had hospital inventory stickers. St. Catherine's Medical Center, Pharmacy Storage Unit 7. The hospital was selling real prescription drugs to cartels and replacing them with diluted counterfeits. And when those counterfeits weren't strong enough for cancer patients in severe pain, they were buying street fentanyl and injecting it directly into IVs. They had turned pain management into a profit center. And the financial trail revealed something even darker. At 2:14 p.m. on December the 9th, FBI forensic accountant David Martinez opened St. Catherine's financial records. What he found made him call Agent Brooks immediately. $340 million in unexplained revenue over 18 months. Listed in accounting ledgers as pharmaceutical cost savings and supply chain optimization. But Martinez traced the actual cash flow. The system. Step 1. Hospital pharmacy orders legitimate prescription opioids using Medicare, Medicaid reimbursement. Step 2. Real opioids are diverted to shell companies controlled by Dr. Harmon. Step 3. Shell companies sell opioids to cartel distributors at street prices, 400% markup. Step 4. Hospital purchases. Street fentanyl, methamphetamine, and cocaine from the same cartels at wholesale prices, 80% discount. Step 5. Street drugs are diluted with saline and administered to patients as prescription pain medication. Step 6. Insurance companies reimburse hospital at prescription drug prices. $400 per dose for street drugs that cost $8 per dose. Each cycle generated $300 to $92 profit per dose. With 300,000 fake doses per month, $117.6 million in monthly profit. Over 18 months, $2.1 billion. But the human cost was incalculable. On December 18th, DEA agents interviewed 47 surviving cancer patients who had been treated at St. Catherine's. Their testimonies were heartbreaking. The pain medication made me feel strange, jittery, paranoid. I told my doctor. He said it was normal. After each injection, my heart would race. Sometimes I'd hallucinate. The nurses said it was the cancer spreading to my brain. My wife died screaming in pain even after they gave her the maximum dose. They said her body had built up tolerance. Now I know why. It wasn't real medicine. But the drug trafficking angle went even deeper. On January 4th, 2026, an undercover DEA agent, posing as a terminal cancer patient, was admitted to St. Catherine's with a fake diagnosis. Within 48 hours, he was offered enhanced pain management by Dr. Harmon herself. Your insurance covers the standard protocols, but I can provide something more effective. It's off-label, but very potent. Many of my patients prefer it. The agent agreed. The medication administered that evening was analyzed immediately. 95% fentanyl, 5% saline. No prescription painkillers whatsoever. But here's the twist that made Agent Brooks realize the full scope. The agent's fake insurance was billed $12,400 for prescription fentanyl patches and IV morphine. The hospital was committing insurance